Hello, my name is Matthias and welcome to the team selection video for Gameweek 36. And to be honest, it's going to be quite a dull video because whether you're talking about my Gameweek 35 score of 33 points or my Gameweek 36 plans, which you'll see eventually, it's not really that exciting in this part of the season, which is kind of strange because this is like the final stretch, the final few game weeks before the end of the season. It should be where a lot of fun things are happening, but currently I think my team is pretty decently set up and I already have the players from the teams that I need players from, if that makes sense. So I have triple Brighton, I have triple Newcastle, I have the City players and the United players that get double game weeks in game week 37. So I feel like I'm pretty well set up in terms of which players I have. The only thing is that I wish I had a different Brighton player. I wish I had McAllister rather than March, but I don't have the money to do it straight up. So doing a -4 to do that, you'll see when we come to the planning part. But before we get to the actual Game Week 36 plans and beyond, we're going to take a look at my Game Week 35 score, which was a whopping 33 points, which was kind of not that good. But that is similar to a lot of other content creators. That's why it's kind of boring that we all have the same template team. I think the pricing this season has been terrible. I think that's why we all have pretty much the same players. We all have Haaland and Salah, and like I can afford Haaland, Salah, De Bruyne, and Rashford, which are like the main four guys to have at the moment, or at least should be the most expensive players in the game. I can easily afford all of those guys without any really drawbacks for my team at all. But either way, Game Week 35, I did one transfer. That was Chilwell out for John Stones, and obviously that was the match where John Stones got his rest, which wasn't that surprising, to be honest. Right before I almost said Bayern Munich game, but right before the Real Madrid game, the semi-final in the Champions League. So Stones got his rest before that game. I think he's going to be back for Game Week 36, but he didn't play in Game Week 35. So that meant that Kieran Trippier came in with a whopping 1 point. That is Trippier's like 7th consecutive blank or something. And then he had that pretty big score in Game Week 29, I think. And then apart from that, right before then as well, he did pretty terribly and blanked plenty of game weeks in a row there as well. So I don't really know what to do with Trippier. I think he has sort of tapered off at the end of the season. Well, he hasn't sort of tapered off. He has definitely tapered off towards the end of the season. Hasn't been the same player that he was at the start of the season, where it looked like he would be breaking records for most points from a defender. But Trippier hasn't really been that amazing player that he was at the start of the season, whether that is for FPL or in general, I think. Because I think halfway through the season, I think Trippier was sort of a shoe-in to be the right back for the team of the season. But at the moment, I think potentially Ben White might be ahead of him because he's better defensively than what Trippier has been. But yeah, anyways, that's Trippier. I'm still going to keep him because I've had him the whole season. He's my only player that I've had the whole season. So I think he's going to be the lone man that I have throughout the entire 38 game weeks. But we'll see about that. But anyways, it didn't really do much worse than any of the other defenders because I got 0 points from Everson in goal, conceded 5 goals against Fulham. He looked pretty terrible as well. So yeah, probably should have just stuck with Raya, played against Liverpool, got his 3 points. Raya always gets a lot of saves, even if he plays a tough match like Liverpool away. So yeah, kind of a mistake there going with Everson against Fulham. I thought Fulham would struggle to score, but they scored 5 goals. So that just shows you some of the randomness that can happen in Fantasy Premier League. Then we have Luke Shaw, who happily for me conceded against West Ham because I'm a West Ham fan, and it was a massive win for West Ham, beating Man United 1-0. But that meant Shaw only got 2 points. Didn't really get much else. Now that he's playing a centre-back, he really needs those clean sheets to get the bonus points as well. He doesn't really get that many point returns in terms of assists or goals playing as a centre-back, but that's just what it is with Shaw. I didn't have him midway through the season where he got a lot of points right after the World Cup break. He was amazing in FPL, and I was really close to bringing him in, but I didn't, and I really regretted that. So that's why I was so certain I was going to get him when he had those good fixtures from Game Week 29 and onwards, I think. But he's been a pretty huge disappointment, really, because he's been injured and stuff. Like, Man United have been decent defensively, but Shaw's just been out sometimes. He hasn't really gotten that many points, so kind of disappointed with him as well. And then finally, Stupinian, 0 points. Again, shocking result this weekend. Game Week 35 was the game week of pretty strange results. Everton beat Brighton 5-1. Not that far removed from Brighton destroying Wolverhampton 6-0, which is really interesting considering Wolverhampton are kind of safe from relegation and Everton are still struggling in the relegation battle. But yeah, that's how it is with Estepinian. He doesn't really get that many clean sheets, but sometimes he gets attacking returns, but he didn't even get that. He got 0 points. I still keep the faith in him, though. I think he's decent. Moving on to the midfield, we have Solly March, who is one of the bigger talking points from Gameweek 35. Before the match against Everton, the Serbi said that he is not in his best moment right now, and he meant in terms of his fitness, he wasn't really fully fit to play, and that's why he didn't start and didn't play in the first half, where Brighton got destroyed by Everton and were down 3-0. Came on at the half, looked really good, and then he passed the ball away to Everton, and when he was chasing back to try to get the ball again, fixing his mistake, he got a hamstring injury and had to be subbed off. So March, not the best again for March. He was not the best, or he wasn't even the second best Brighton midfielder to get when everyone brought in Brighton midfielders for their Gameweek 26 wildcard back in the day. It seems like McAllister and Mitoma have won out that battle as well. But speaking of McAllister, he got 8 points. He had 2 really good chances to score where he didn't score because of good saves from Pickford earlier in the game. But then he finally scored a kind of a lucky bounce after Mitoma hit the post, and then that resulted in him getting 8 points, which is quite a lot of the point total that I ended up with in the end. The other player that contributed to the final points mostly is Mohamed Salah. He got 10 points, got a nice easy goal after a Van Dijk header back to him. Pretty easy tap in for Salah. 10 points for him. It's really good. He keeps on chugging. He keeps on being FPL royalty, and yeah. I'm still going to keep him for Gameweek 36, but I think Gameweek 37 is when I'm going to switch him back to Fernandes because of the double game week fixture, but that's in the future. Speaking of Man United and double game week fixtures, we have Marcus Rashford, who also blanked against West Ham, looked pretty terrible. He's my vice captain, but he was nowhere near getting any points against West Ham. He hasn't been quite himself lately. I don't know, it might just be the end of a long season, might just be Man United sort of being like, they still have top 4 to play for, but it doesn't seem like they are like, it doesn't seem like they are scared to lose top 4 at the moment, which is kind of strange because Liverpool are right behind them. But yeah, Rashford hasn't been at his best for a while now. Same can be said sort of for De Bruyne in FPL. He was benched for 2 games or was out with an injury in the double game week. He didn't play at all, and he returned and got 3 points now against the Leeds. He had decent underlying numbers, but still didn't get that many points. So De Bruyne has been kind of a massive disappointment for me most of the season as well. That goes for pretty much every single City player apart from Haaland. You can see the same with Stones here. So City just have no luck with them, and I wish I had Riyad Mahrez at the moment rather than De Bruyne, and that I had Trent Alexander-Arnold in defense, but I don't have any feasible ways of getting them. I guess I could do the -4 De Bruyne to Mahrez and then bring in Trent, but we'll discuss that in the plans section. Moving on to Haaland, he had 3 big chances against Leeds. He had about 1 expected goal, I think, in total in that game, and he still didn't get any goals at all. So really unlucky for Haaland. Well done for anyone that went with Salah as captain instead, because that meant point swing of 8 points, which is really nice. But yeah, Haaland, it's just one of those weeks where the ball wouldn't go into the back of the net, but he's going to be back in amongst the goals pretty soon. I think he still wants to push on, even though he got the record now. I think he wants to make the record as good as it gets before he potentially breaks it next season. We'll see. It's going to be interesting to see what is priced next season. But moving on to Alexander Isak, he had 1 huge chance against Arsenal to score, but Ramsdale had a good save. Still think Isak looks amazing. Still really happy to have him. So he is a really good player to have going forward. So really happy with him. On the bench, Botman 1 point. Glad I didn't have to use him. It looked like for a little moment that Shaw might not have traveled to West Ham, but apparently he just traveled on his own, so I didn't need Botman at all, which was good because he conceded against Arsenal. And then Greenwood is just bench fodder, who even picked up 1 point because he came on for Sam Allardyce. So maybe Sam Allardyce will utilize him more. I don't know. It doesn't really matter. He's just going to be my 3rd bench guy until the rest of the season is finished, really. So yeah, that was my score of Game Week 35. 33 points, which is not the best. My rank is not even listed, but I'm amongst the million. I've been around like the 1 million mark now for a while. Probably not going to end up that much higher than that either. My team's pretty template, kind of boring to be honest. Just wishing for next season to start already, but maybe we can find some fun plans, because at the moment I don't have a camera ready, so let me just add that first. There we go. A little bit of mid-video editing here, but anyways, there I am, back again. But yeah, as far as my plans go, I'm still probably just standing pat. I think that's my ideal way of playing this game now. I have March on the bench. He should be yellow flagged. That's why he's on the bench. Otherwise, he would be starting for me over probably Stones, I think. But currently, pretty happy with the team. No like huge weak links. I'm not a huge fan of the double Newcastle defense, but I think it's too much hassle to switch it around. I don't think it's worth it doing like a -4 or a -8 to bring in Wilson and sell Botman, for example. Like I don't see the value in that. So with no money left in the bank, I can't really do March to Mitoma, which I probably would have wanted to do. Can't even do Isak to Wilson if I wanted to do that, but I think Isak is the best option. And if you want a real like captaincy discussion, like looking at who's the best captain out of Isak, Salah, and Haaland, you can look at our FPL Scope podcast from yesterday, where Kevin and I discussed it. He picked Isak, Kimo picked Salah, but Kimo wasn't there to argue Salah's case, so we both sort of made a case for Salah. And then I made a little case for Haaland as well, the Norwegian guy, my fellow Norwegian Viking, I guess you can say, fellow Norwegian blonde guy. But either way, the selection is for Isak to be the captain. It's just because it's a double game week. It's more fun. Leeds, we've seen, concede a lot of goals, so I think Isak can score a lot of goals there. And then Brighton conceded 5 goals against Everton, so they could easily concede 5 goals against Newcastle as well, because Newcastle are really good, especially at home. So even though they lost against Arsenal, but yeah, I think Isak is a great captain's option. I think Salah is actually the second best option, because he plays Leicester, and Leicester are really leaky at the back. You saw that 5 goals conceded against Fulham, terrible. So I think Salah is a decent option. I think Haaland is a decent option as well, but it feels like Everton are sort of in a good moment right now, as opposed to Solly March. So I think Haaland is nice to have, but I don't think he's like a really good captain's option. I mean, obviously he gets a lot of expected goals and stuff, so he could score a hat-trick all of a sudden, but I'm more comfortable with either Isak or Salah, considering the opposition that they have compared to Haaland. The other like decisions I sort of have: goalkeeper Raya against West Ham. Obviously, I hope he concedes, because I want West Ham to win that game, but I don't really think there's any other really good goalkeepers. I mean, I could potentially get Ramsdale, but Arsenal play against Brighton, so I think I'll wait for Gameweek 37 for that transfer. Other than that, I don't really see that many interesting things I can do. I could sell Solly March and eventually, potentially in Gameweek 37, or even take a hit to get Evan Ferguson. I think he looks kind of interesting. He came on at the half against Everton and looked really good, so he's getting a new contract now. They want to finish on a high with him, I think, because I think he's going to be the starting striker next season. All credit and respect to Danny Welbeck for being a fine striker for Brighton, but I think it's time for Ferguson to take that step to become the number 1 striker for Brighton. But they also brought in Joao Pedro for next season, so it's going to be really interesting to see what they do with the striker position next season. But yeah, apart from that, Shaw is benched for Stones. I think Stones has more attacking potential. That's why I prefer Stones in defense, and I also prefer the Newcastle players because of the double game week fixtures, and Estepinian, even with the tough fixtures for Estepinian, I think he has the chance to get a goal or assist here or there. So I still quite like Estepinian's attacking potential. But that said, if I had Trent Alexander-Arnold in my squad, if he was on my bench rather than Shaw, I probably would bench Estepinian, maybe Stones. I don't know. It's between, I don't know, either one of those defenders you can swap out really. But I'd play Trent, I think, over all of them. Trippier, Botman, Stones, Estepinian. I think Trent has more potential than all of them, both in terms of attacking potential and potentially not conceding against Leicester as well. It might happen. We all know what happened a couple seasons back when Trent played against Leicester away. So yeah, those are my thoughts for my plans. Don't really have any interesting moves to make, really. Can't really see anything super interesting I could do. I think my team is pretty decent, so yeah, I think it's going to be a pretty good game week. I'm hoping Kevin De Bruyne finally can get some point returns for me, because he's practically my only like sort of differential player at the moment. So yeah, I'm looking more into the future and what I can do for game week, probably even game week 38. I think 37 I'm pretty well set up for as well. I think it's just Salah to Fernandes to get that extra double game week player. And then I think I might just save 2 transfers for game week 38, or I might do a goalkeeper switch with Raya to Ramsdale, potentially. Or potentially even an Arsenal midfielder as well, for the money that I get from Salah to Fernandes. So I think I'll just stand pat and then have more flexibility in Gameweek 37 and 38 to make some really fun, interesting decisions. So hopefully the next few team selection videos will be more interesting than this one, because both Gameweek 35 and Gameweek 36 are kind of boring, to be honest. So yeah, that's that. So yeah, make sure you subscribe for more engaging content like this. If you enjoy looking at my stupid face and my stupid haircut, that is super uneven and bad, but whatever, that's a totally different story. Then sure, subscribe to the channel. We have big plans for the summer as well. I'm gonna make some really fun videos. I'm gonna make like a pronunciation guide. I think I'm gonna try to pronounce all the names in the Premier League without practicing first, and then I'm going to practice, and then I'm actually going to give you like the proper pronunciation of all the names. So I'm gonna try to challenge myself to do that. I think that's really fun. I think bad pronunciations and correct pronunciations are really interesting and fun. So that's one of the things I'm going to do. There's some other plans as well. I'm going to talk more about that in the future, but I think we have some great content for you in the summer. And as always, we're going to make the preseason guide on thevideoscope.com, which is my personal website. That's where sort of this project all spawned from, or Kevin and I at least will write like a big guide for the preseason. Before the season, we'll have the starting lineups, projected starting lineups for all 20 teams in the Premier League, projected the set piece takers. We're going to talk about the new signings in the summer. We're going to talk about the new managers coming into the league. It's going to be a huge thing, and it's going to be a lot of different squads as well. Always do that at the top of the guide. There's always like the template team at the start, like an alternate team without any template players second, and then potentially like a wildcard team. Kevin usually has his like no bench team, and then we also try to make like the best potential team of the season, like zombie team, like a team that you want to keep for the entirety of the season. So there's going to be a lot of good content, and there's going to be video content to follow up that guide this time around as well. So I think that's going to create a lot of growth for the YouTube channel, and going to create a lot of fun videos for you guys to watch as well. So we're also going to try to maybe cooperate to make the best team of the season, like the best zombie team for next season as well. So I think that's going to be a lot of fun. But anyways, that's been the team selection video for Gameweek 36. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.